4, 3, 2, 1. I told you before to be careful where you put your legs.
I was only trying to be helpful.
I can help myself. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on.
For 7 decades, Michael Caine has been among the world's most renowned and recognisable actors.
It was just what I needed. A 1-inch god with a 2-inch penis.
The star of classics like Zulu, The Man Who Would Be King, and The Cider House Rules.
It's a miracle no one was killed.
But also films that brought his career to the brink of complete implosion.
I made a mistake.
Somehow, he has always found a way back.
You're a big man, but you're in bad shape. With me, it's a full-time job.
In this epic podcast series, we will watch and review every Michael Caine movie, from the greatest hits...
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off!
...to the incredible misses.
You failed to maintain your weapon, son.
And take a deep dive into the life and work of one of the world's most recognisable film stars.
His name is Michael Caine, and no one will forget his name.
Behave yourself.
To understand how he has made the mark of Caine.
Well, you all settled in? Right, we can begin. For God's sake, come in!
Hello, and you're very welcome to the latest episode of The Mark of Caine. My name is Michael Foley, and as always, I'm joined on this deep dive into the movie career of Michael Caine by Stephen Black, Chief Care Provider to the Mallow News Twitter account. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, I guess, all things considered. And if this is a deep dive, well, this is the episode that, again, adds to the nitrogen bubbles rotting away at my brain.
Yeah. It's we're at the stage now where we really need to come up for air on this one. But we're going to drive on. Keep an eye out for the Mallow News book if you're online or in your shops or anything like that. I think there's still a few left around the place. But today, it's all about Caine. And it's all about Caine as a cat burglar yet again. And it's all about Deadfall.
Killing you now would be too easy. Believe me, it's never easy. I could do it. I haven't had too many failures in bed. Why did Richard send you? Are you thrown in with the deal? Because if you're not, what are we going to do about it?
Now,
do you know what a deadfall is? Other than
no.
two hours and 40 minutes of a life that you'll never fucking get back.
Go on, tell me what is a deadfall?
Deadfall is an animal trap that works on the basis of a big swinging weight that comes and crushes the animal. So you might remember the end of Predator when Dutch is setting up all these different traps, and so there's a big log that's tied by ropes that he's somehow able to put together within minutes. That kind of when triggered, swings over and kind of crushes the predator against a tree. That's a deadfall.
Right.
So I was expecting a deadfall in this.
Having told me now what a deadfall is, I kind of feel like the poor animal stuck in the log after watching this particular flick. But
let's start with the recap, Michael. You set the scene for us.
I will set the scene. It is 1968, by the way, in terms of where Caine is. He's playing a cat burglar, Henry Clark, and he fakes himself as an alcoholic to get into a sanatorium to get close to a wealthy chap who's in there called Salinas, who to me, by the way, looked the absolute head off of Robin Williams from the side.
We should also point out that you wear glasses.
Yes, I do, but I think the kind of the nose shape was a Williams nose shape. But anyway, look, we'll leave that to people to decide if they decide to go and see Deadfall. And by the way, if you haven't seen Deadfall, stay with us. We'll get you through it. If you have seen Deadfall, again, stay with us. We'll get you through it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, when he comes out of the sanatorium, he's approached by a lady called Faye and her husband, Richard Moreau, to join forces. In that way, in these movies that this happens, we have no idea how they knew him or anything. They're just there, and they say, let's rob Salinas together. So he eventually agrees, finds out over the course of time that Richard Moreau is a former SS officer. He's gay. So with all this in mind, Caine happily falls in love with Faye. So they try out one burglary, and with mixed results. Now, the good bit being they come away with $500,000 worth of jewels. The other half, it turns out that Richard Moreau is a really useless safecracker, so he's kind of no use to anybody. But before going into the big one where they rob Salinas, Faye heads for Tangiers to sell the diamonds that were worth £500,000 that they robbed in the first burglary. And while she's gone, Moreau tells Henry that in the course of his life, back during the war, he killed his male lover, had a daughter with his male lover's wife, and then he married the daughter, who is Faye. So, of course, shock horror, Caine decides this is not my scene. He heads off and decides to do the burglary on his own, sorry, let me start that again.
No.
Burglar. Tries to burgle Salinas' place on his own, dies. At the same time, Moreau is at home, he kills himself, and Faye ends up in police custody at the end. By which point, 2 hours into the movie, you really actually, even though with all this stuff going on, you don't care. You really don't care. I think that's pretty much it. This is a movie, Stephen, that is from the very, very opening shot is reaching for stuff that it's got no hope of reaching.
No, this movie's worst sin is that it's boring. It's
yes.
boring. You don't care. You don't care what's happening. Tense scenes aren't tense because you're so bored and you don't care about any of the characters. The plot revelations don't matter because, again, by this stage, you don't care.
You don't
care. I mean, I don't even know what the point of the big reveal that Moreau was married to his daughter was. It was such a very bizarre choice for him. It is real that he is a gay man and they have not obviously had the intercourse. But it's like, you could probably have adopted her or something. I mean, it's not a zero-sum game kind of going, no, I need to look after the daughter, my daughter by marrying her. I mean, they're not from fucking Kerry, like.
And also, it goes back to a point you've made about other Caine movies so far, that this is another little piece of the plot that you could take out and you wouldn't miss it at all.
Well, you see, they obviously thought this was quite important. No, you gave out to me because I emailed you during the week about what we talk about in this, and I kind of gave away the plot. But I sent you on a copy of the poster, and the poster. Let me just go to my phone here for an interesting bit of audio visual interaction here for the
audience really feel like they're involved now.
Yeah. So the poster declares Michael Caine plunges into the world of the adulterous, the treacherous, and the perverse. And then there are 3 little headshots. The girl who didn't know her husband and her father were the same man. So it's on the poster for the fucking movie.
Yeah.
So it's like going to the usual looking forward to the usual suspects. You go to the poster and go, it's Kevin Spacey all along. Enjoy the movie, lads.
Yeah. And that is the nature of this movie. It's at every turn, it's encouraging you not to care. It's telling you don't need to go any further with this. From the movie poster, you've read the plot. This is what happens. You don't need. There's no twists anymore now.
No, and I love about this the brief description of the movie in his autobiography. He puts this down to, I trusted a director with a good track record. He made the fucking wrong box with Brian Forbes, which we covered in the previous episode, which is not good at all.
No. And I mean, again, it struck me that this is Caine picking, like, Brian Forbes was a mate, like, so it kind of strikes me. It's a friend. It's set in Spain. It looks beautiful. In fact, to be fair, Caine looks beautiful. Everybody looks beautiful in it. And it just looks to me like yet another one of these friends directing it. Nice place to go to make a movie. I like the ambition in the script. Let's give it a rattle kind of thing. And of course, not for the first time, already in his career, it blows up.
Yeah, if we could talk briefly about Caine's performance in this movie, which I suppose we kind of have to as part of this podcast, is he's very low energy in this most of the time. He spends an awful lot of the early part of this movie reclining or lying down. Actually, probably good training for the current part of his career that he does appear to be coasting through an awful lot of this. There's no real kind of vim and vigor to his performance. There's no real conviction. I suppose you're only as good at the script in many ways. This is a leaden script. It's full of lines like, do you like lemons? I was married to an orange once. This kind of fucking, conversations go down side alleys and come up fucking
They come up mugged.
through the sewers and you
Yeah.
covered in nonsense. It's
Yes.
it's what it wants to be more than it is, and of course that's ambition. We all want to be more than we are, but in this case, it really should have just settled.
Yeah, like, you know, some people have to accept that the best they're going to do is talking about Michael Caine films on podcasts, in the same way that this film needed to accept that it was either a heist movie, a cat burglar movie, or a melodrama about a bizarre love triangle. You cannot do both. It's a
psychosexual thriller, essentially, what this is trying to be.
Yeah.
It's like it with a sprinkling of cat burglary on top of it.
Yeah.
I think I was saying to you, if this movie was made maybe in the 90s, it'd be pure kind of saucy erotic thriller. Maybe the likes of Jürgen Prochnow or maybe Max von Sydow as the closeted gay man married to his daughter. You might have the singer from Pin or Jane March as the missus, and then a Baldwin, not Alec, because probably at that stage still had a good career, but maybe I don't know, Gordon Baldwin or Terry, one of the other lads,
one of the lesser Baldwins.
One of the lesser Baldwins, the one with the lazy eye. I don't know.
Oh, great name. But yeah, it's just leaden, and it just does. And but I mean, we have and there's this pretentiousness about it. Like, they use a farewell to arms even during it. He mentions a farewell to arms, Caine, as in his character, and the love affair within that. There's the use of a seagull from the beginning as a kind of motif.
In the opening credits, you think this is obviously nature's most enigmatic bird. This clearly has layered meaning, but no, it's just a fucking seagull. It doesn't even steal a jambon out of a child's hand. The most and only entertaining thing that a seagull can do. So right from the off. I mean, you're into kind of very slow dirge Shirley Bassey song that isn't even called Deadfall.
No,
I think at least it could be called Deadfall. I'm really angry about that. If you got Shirley Bassey with singing a John Barry song, it better be called fucking Deadfall.
Dead right. And since I've been watching the movie, I'm going around the house in my head singing Deadfall like Skyfall. Yeah. In a deadfall. That's all in my head. That's the song it should have been. But instead, it's a song that Dusty Springfield should have sang, I think. If Dusty Springfield would have sang the song for Deadfall, it would have been quite good. As it is, it's pretty naff. It's not good.
So that's it. So straight away you're in for a very slow journey. It's like the old fucking Mallow to Cork road. God, this would be an awful lot quicker if somebody just built a fucking good road.
If we can take all the bends out of this and just build a straight road, would be good. Yeah. But you know what? In a way, we don't want to dwell on the song, but the song kind of captures everything that's going to come. All right, it's kind of another big grand idea. The woman who sang, bunch of Bond themes, John Barry, who wrote the Bond music, this is going to be great. But actually, it's very mediocre and it's poor, and it just should have been a lot better. It's
really forgettable, which is it's really unusual for a Shirley Bassey song of that era anyway.
Absolutely.
But instantly, as soon as you hear it, it's out of your head.
Stuff that you weren't keen on, there is much of it. The setup, the robberies, the love affairs. What do you want to go with?
The setup, I suppose really you can skate over. You kind of covered it in the overview. Like I say, he's in a sanitarium. He's faking being an alcoholic in order to get close to this guy Salinas, who he's thinking about robbing. There's a couple of very odd scenes in there where he gets a very rigorous tit massage from a masseuse. But he gets a really kind of violent. Clearly, the actress was not I didn't go the method route and decided to take massage classes. No, it's clearly just pretend you're a masseuse there. Just gives him a good old examination there.
It's like she's kneading dough. Yeah. It's like she's kneading freckly London dough.
Yeah, freckly London dough. It's kind of marinate in your brain for a second.
Yeah, just get a good mental image there. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, there's another weird opening kind of scene with the doctor who's, he's saying, okay, are you sure you want to check out? And there's another awkward massage scene where he's checking his liver, but he seems to be trying to milk his prostate. It's just from the outside in, which I believe is not the most ideal technique. This really bizarre kind of keeps on talking about we are sure that we want to leave. You're kind of going, oh God, we are sure the next 2 hours are going to be fucking long.
We already know. It's such a demoralizing thing when you're only 3 minutes into a movie that you have to watch. And you go,
at this stage where you're kind of
God.
getting that, it's like, it's the homework handed in too early. You kind of get, oh God, I know where this is going. Already we're getting the sense of, you can tell a few minutes in and go going, yeah, this is all the hallmarks of, I fancied a couple of weeks in Spain.
Yeah, totally and utterly. What did you make? Actually, there was one thing that, it's not quite de-gayification territory, but it's sort of in that ballpark around how he reacts to finding out that Richard Moreau is gay.
We try and kind of reinforce every now and again in these podcasts, like these are very much products of their time, and some content here could be quite fucking disturbing or very dated, certainly in terms of how its treatment of topics that are certainly handled a hell of a lot more sensitively these days. But yeah, in terms of Moreau's being gay, it's a very kind of unsensitively handled, let's say, from Caine's character's perspective anyway.
Yeah, he has a line like, he goes off and he talks to some kind of intelligence agent or police, I don't know what he is, played by Leonard Rossiter, actually.
Leonard Rossiter, who should have been told less.
Yeah, less. And he's not in it for very long.
Oh, I know, but it feels for fucking ages. This is real. He decides he's going to imbue his character with all these kind of tics, or, he's built up a backstory from Leonard, for God's sake. Just take the money, go have a fucking plate of paella, a glass of sangria. You're in Spain, chill out.
Enjoy. So he comes back then to Faye, and he says, he's asking, actually what he says is he bent? Is he queer? And she says, you don't like queers. And Caine's character's reply, in fairness to Michael Caine, I don't have to. I'm not married to one. So I kind of had to look at that line twice and kind of went, yeah, that's homophobic, all right.
The tagline on the poster is like, the perverse.
Yeah.
And I mean, the perverse is aimed at your man, he's gay. And he married his daughter. Okay, hands up. That's perverse. Yeah, that's first. But I mean, they are. It's not that aspect that they're focusing on. No. You also there like the famous there are no famous scenes from Deadfall. But if there was something, if you did say to somebody who has seen Deadfall, what's the thing you remember? They will almost definitely say the 20-minute sequence in the middle of the heist, which is there's pretty much no dialogue. It's a John Barry piece of music. Interspersed, she's basically soundtracking the cat burglary. I can't remember. It was an actual piece of music with a female Spanish guitar player whose name I can't remember. So I'm just going to call her Nina Hendrix for the sake of things. But it's regarded by anybody who's seen it as that's a good bit of the movie. The notion of interspersing the musical performance with the heist as such is fine. It's a good conceit. However, the whole execution of the heist is so inadvertently comedic, it completely renders any tension inert. Like there's nothing tense about it at all, because you're going, what the fuck is going on? So we'll take it at the start, right? I just want to get Michael Caine's character asks Moreau, is there any way you can get a bit better picture, a better picture of one of the rooms? The room that he has to break into. So that's fine. So they have a scene where he pulls up in a car. Outside the front of the scaff that they're supposed to be covertly fucking taking pictures of, takes out a pair of binoculars to look at the room. But within the pair of binoculars is secreted a camera, because that's the discreet thing. So you're outside somebody's gaff with a very large pair of binoculars in which you have hidden a camera, because the last thing you want them to think is that you're looking at the fucking house. So that's the first thing, all right. Then it's the decision that he's basically taking his granddad with him on the job. So
this guy, by the way, how old? We were talking late 60s, early 70s.
He's 68. He was 68, 69. He died either that year or the next year. So this was literally his last performance. I don't know.
So his sidekick is 68, 69 years of age on this cat burglaring trip.
So you have again. Moreau at least is dressed in black. Caine is dressed in beige, which I would have thought, again, not really the most appropriate outfit. It's not like there's a multitude of guys robbing the gaff, so you need everyone to be dressed in different colours so the audience could tell who's whom. No, he's dressed in fucking beige. You have the thing of the usual thing of that era is that you get to see Caine's body shape change dramatically whenever they pull off to see the stuntman doing all the work. All of a sudden he's half a foot shorter and 2 stone lighter. Perform all his tricks, he's in his doodads. So parcel of it, they eventually get over the wall. Caine leaps it, throws on one of these little rope ladders. Your man gingerly climbs over. It's again 68, 69 years of age over the wall. Feeds some meat,
kind of meat,
treats dosed with a sedative to put the dogs to sleep. Very fast acting, but not very long lasting. But you would have thought, what kind of dose will I give the dogs? Oh, just enough to put them to sleep for 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes tops.
We won't not 15, not 20, 10.
No, 10 minutes.
We'll be well gone by then. Doses the dogs. Off they go. Mick Caine starts his ascent into the gap. Now, the conceit is that the people in the house have got off to this classical music concert, which is why we're flipping back to it, because it's supposed to be tense. The concert's nearly over, because when you go to a concert, as far as I know, they only play one piece of music, and then you're like,
exactly,
well, that's enough classical music for me. I better go home. Yeah, the staff are inside listening to the radio, having a couple of glasses of wine and having their dinner. Assured that the security in the gaff is so strong that that there's nothing to worry about. They don't need any sort of security guards outside. Whatever. Mick Caine starts his the next part of this heist is that when he can't see an area, Moreau at the bottom gets out his big industrial-sized fucking spotlight and shines a light on the area that Mick Caine is pointing at. Look, again, a 69-year-old man dressed in black carrying a fucking spotlight is walking around the grounds of the stately home and nobody bats an eyelid.
And just to put it in people's mind, I mean, this spotlight flashlight we're talking about, it's the kind of one that your farmer dad bought in the 80s, like a big block of a thing that you flick the switch on top and a huge spotlight comes up. I mean, you couldn't put X marks the cat burglar spot kind of thing. You couldn't do it any better than this guy with his big spotlight.
No, I'm no cat burglar, as you know. No. But I would have thought maybe the top 5 things a cat burglar needs to do, other than being part cat and part burgle, is an ability to be discreet and covertly go about your business without getting caught, not do everything possible to draw attention to you.
Exactly.
Anyway, Mick Caine stuntman does all the climbing anyway, gets to the key moment of tension that had me in hysterics because I wasn't expecting this at all. Now, part of this heist is that Mick Caine needs to drop from one windowsill to another, and there is a big it's a big drop. Like you would have thought, like any other heist movie would have had this as a key part of the preparation. They would have duplicated the height drop in a house somewhere or in a yard, and they would have seen all these failed attempts at it, and he eventually gets it. And will he get it in the day? Blah blah blah. This just throws it at you out of the blue. All of a sudden, you see him from a windowsill, he just drops about 20 feet. And the thing is, again, it cuts to clear. It cuts it's the stuntman dropping. Then it clearly cuts to a dummy falling far away from the window, and then cuts back to Mick Caine with his hands on the windowsill, cat-like, before he goes in. The next step is he goes down, unlocks the door again in the house where there's staff. Don't hear any of this. Lets Moreau in because Moreau is the safecracker's coming. Moreau comes in, doesn't have any of the tools of what I'd associate that you'd require for a safebreaker, a stethoscope. And that's pretty much it. That's all I know about safe cracking.
That's all you need, apparently.
He's immediately shocked because they've replaced the safe and it's a different model, and he says it's going to take me ages to crack, blah blah blah. Mick Caine then decides he's going to chisel the safe out of the wall. I'd just like to point out for people who are listening to this who haven't seen the movie, we're not making this up. He decides he's going to chisel the safe out of the wall and carry the safe out to the car that's waiting outside the side gates of this house. Again, that they're
down the steps, down a steep set of steps, a whole lot. Yeah. And
all of this is, I mean, like, again, this would be tense if you gave a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
If you cared about these characters, and if if you were on board with any of this and started going, oh God, they're still robbing it. This is still going on. And they show every chisel of the safe, and it cuts to Moreau going, oh, will I leave him? Won't I leave him? Faye in the car going, where we got to go, are we not? Eventually, Mick Caine stumbles out. The dogs wake up again because, not enough sedative in the doggy biscuits. Mick Caine throws himself at the safe down the stairs, and they're free.
Yeah.
And kind of go, that's one of the worst heist scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. Hats off, like.
It's awful. It is awful. And if you think, the movie degenerates from there, it actually can, and it does degenerate from there. Some of the acting, some of the dialogue is so wooden, it's so damp actually and wooden, you can feel the dry rot in it. The whole thing kind of descends into this kind of a mess of almost a meditations on cat burglary. Why is the cat burglar regarded with more sympathy than the common thief? Love. Perhaps love is a form of theft. Adultery, other middle class habits, other middle class pursuits. It's just all this old garbage that has like
Oh no, this
invading from another film.
Yeah, but then you move on to the kind of the love square, because it's not even a love triangle, because there's fucking four
it's
of
a
them.
square. Yeah,
Like McCain takes up with the wife, and Moreau picks up this young fella from a restaurant, and all is rose in the garden. You've all this kind of everybody's getting on fine, and of course McCain. Just to point out as well, so McCain suffered an injury as a result of his endeavours taking the sail out, and he's recuperating in their villa. That's part of it, because you've seen he's walking lying down. Yeah, he's walking around, and this is the start of the romance with Faye. And she's like, no, you must lie down. You must take things easy. Cut to them taking a fucking road trip in the car that she's bought him, a sports car, down like fucking miles out of the city across a bumpy road to go to a tourist attraction. Please, you must rest and mind whatever area. I mean, it's probably the least sexiest fucking injury of all time. He's probably just he's aggravated his sciatica or something.
Something like that. Yeah,
it's not like he's been shot. It's not like he's been shot. It's like a common workplace injuries that he suffered.
You just need rest.
If he'd done his manual handling course, he would have been fine. No. So they're just afraid that he's going to sue them.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think suddenly, they realise, as you said, they have a workplace-related accident on their hands here.
What did you make of the chemistry between him and his leading lady here? Because I thought it was, for all the kind of soft focus, and there is this is probably the most quote unquote explicit love making scene in a Caine movie we've seen so far. It's kind of like these really impractical beds with kind of gossamer fucking veils hanging from the four posters, and there's a bit of pelvic grinding and ecstatic face making on behalf of the leading lady. Yeah, everything else about the relationship is kind of I don't really buy it.
One last thing before we do move on. It's only a little thing, but towards the end of it, there's a swinging 60s fancy dress party where the music is like classic Pulp Fiction sort of trumpet-driven swing rock. And yet again in these movies, you have people dancing completely out of time. Oh, and also Michael Caine dressed basically as Ruprecht, which is a nice nod to, let's say, better times in about 20 years' time.
The swingy 60s party scene, that was a very bizarre scene where he meets Nanette Newman's character, who, God love her, this is the second time we've seen her, and she's not gotten any better since we saw her in The Wrong Box. She is not.
And I don't want to say it's because she's Brian Forbes' wife, but she's the director's wife. Again, The Wrong Box. But, again, we have another one of these kind of character stroke plot things where you can just clip it out and you don't need it at all.
Yeah, so he orchestrates her meeting, basically her introduction to Salinas. She wants to be an actress, and Salinas is into actresses or whatever. He goes over and kind of has her sit down. It's, again, a very bizarre scene. There's a bit of the usual carry-on humor. McCain gets goes over to the buffet and gets a kind of a hot dog and a stick, holds it up to her and goes, "Do you want one of these?"
It's complete ooh or misses, where there was no ooh or misses before or after that moment. It's completely off kilter. Like I think it's the last thing. I mean, that kind of pretty much. I mean, God, is there anything else you might want to touch on? Anything else? I don't.
I think we just covered the final heist scene very quickly.
Yes, of course.
It ties into the party scene. Is that, of course, McCain goes in and because he's in a fit of rage over Moreau trying to have him basically commit suicide by Caine. Goes off and does the Salinas job by himself. Manages to break in. But Nanette Newman is there with Salinas, and there's one of the worst kind of dancing as foreplay scenes I've seen yet.
And again, more off, not in time. No, they're dancing. There's no relation to the music whatsoever. Like
awful. You see, there's this bizarre voiceover that's used while McCain is when he goes to he finally he opens the safe, and you see there's this bizarre voiceover that's used while McCain is when he goes to he finally he opens the safe and the jewels aren't there, and there's all this kind of voiceover from what Salinas has said to them in the past, and you kind of go, oh, is this guiding him to where the jewels really are or anything like that? And there's none of that. It's just a load of shit. It's like Lisa needs braces kind of voiceover going on, and he eventually finds them in the chandelier, and then just for no reason just decides to fucking go balls all, hangs off a balcony, gets shot, dies, and that's that's pretty much it. That's your movie. That's Deadfall, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We're sorry for your troubles if you see this. I'm sorry for my troubles that I've seen it. I'm sorry for Mick's troubles that he's seen it. All we can hope is that maybe, next time round, he'll do it. He'll get us back on track.
No, he won't, I'm afraid. But you know what? It has to be said that it's a bad movie, but even already, and this is, I think, we'll say if we take Zulu as the starting point, this is his 10th kind of leading role, and this is still not the worst film that he's done in those 10 movies. This bodes, this kind of, to be fair, it's in keeping with what we're expecting. Yet again, I think, one of the things that we said at the top of this whole kind of a podcast series was that we were trying to figure out why is he so popular. And I think you see an element of it here. He, as you said at the top there, he kind of cruises through. It's all charm and kind of, hooded eyes and little sardonic smirks and the odd line here and there. And it just gets him over the line, barely. I don't know, what kind of marks of Caine? Again, we're marking this in terms of Caine's performance. I mean, the movie gets like 1 or something, but like what would you give Caine for his performance?
I'll give it a 5 because I think we're going to be giving a lot of 5s. I think a 5 Caine is kind of cruising, not awful, but not in any way. Not in any way. Again, back to him doing an awful lot of lying down. He's not exercising any muscles here at all. No,
he's not. I would actually like someone to put, if someone is going to bother themselves watching Deadfall, put a clock on how long he's lying down, because he spends a lot of this movie lying down. But the thing about that is, you're right, like he's cruising, but again, I think of the guy who was so engaged with Zulu. Now, Zulu was a great premise for a film, and it was very tightly put together, and it was, there was no doubt about what Zulu was about. But I just wonder, like, if he had given a bit more to a movie like Deadfall, could he have at least helped it a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't know. Certainly with this, it would have been like trying to give, mouth to mouth to a corpse, which he appeared to one of the love scenes in this. But some things are beyond saving. This is, nobody goes out to make a bad movie. Brian Forbes again might have had this kind of, this tense psychosexual thriller in mind when but they didn't get there.
It's about as tense as jelly.
Yeah.
Like I did a bit of a search around, looking for any references from Caine to Deadfall, anything, any thoughts, any reflections. Like as you said in his book, it was kind of like, the director screwed it up. I did find one line which I think captures the whole thing. And to be fair to Caine, there aren't many movies that he really, beats down on. Of his, even the really bad ones, he kind of finds justification for them. But about 15, 16 years ago, he said that these films, he was talking about this and the next movie we're going to watch. He said, these films almost put a stop to my career. None of them are good movies. So 1968 is a tough year for anybody watching Michael Caine movies. The next movie, by the way, is called The Magus.
Magus.
Mahus.
I imagine we'll have an awful lot of different names for it by the time we watch it.
Oh God, I think by the look of things we will. But you know what? This is one of these things I would actually encourage people now to watch this one, because we'll have no problem watching stuff like The Man Who Will Be King or The Italian Job or Dirty Rotten Scoundrels or whatever.
That's easy. Anyone can do that.
That's easy. Any fool can do that.
Any mook can do that. It takes look at this for synergy now. I think it'll take our really hardcore, wait for it, Cainiacs to go. I know I've trademarked it. To go the extra mile and watch the movies that you feel, no, I'm not going to bother watch that. Because misery loves company.
How the thing that's getting me now at this stage in this thing is, how can a guy, let's say in the year like 1968, make a film like Deadfall and then follow it up with The Mahus, right? And his career is still alive, right? But that's for another day. Yeah, so like the Megas, it's one of these Caine films that's so bad, it gives you a kind of a weird insight into how this guy's career kept going. Because anybody else to go through 1968 and make Deadfall and The Megas and still have a career at the end of it, the way he had a career at the end of it, it's extraordinary. And that's what's drawing me into this movie. I want to see it. I want to see what actually happens in this movie, because this, as I say, this one and Deadfall are two that Caine walks away from. Like he basically just kind of, he doesn't deny them, but he just, no, they are not good. They're really poor movies. By the way, before we go, I think you mentioned it. You talked there about patenting Cainiacs. I think you should also patent Suicide by Caine.
Or Caine Unable.
And yeah, that sounds like one of those titles where we have to come up with another podcast idea to justify it. Okay, so listen, go watch The Megas. Come back and join us next episode around. We're going to get stuck into The Megas with Michael Caine, Anthony Quinn, Candice Bergen. He's off to Greece this time. He was in Spain the last time. Now he's off to Greece. It's all very nice, great kind of tan-grabbing weather. Thanks for all that, Stephen.
Thank you, Michael.
Not a bother. Yeah, and we will see you all again next time for The Megas.
Don't forget to DM us on Twitter with any questions you might have about The Megas. Try and keep it clean. That's at Mark of Caine 2 on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like I said, if someone can put a stopwatch on Deadfall, just see how long Caine's actually lying down, I'd really appreciate that.
What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment. Only nice ones, though. Mean comments will make Alfie cry, and no one wants to see that. The Mark of Caine podcast is written, researched, and presented by Stephen Black and Michael Foley, and edited by Andrew Foley. Music is composed by Stephen Black. If you'd like to get in touch, you'll find us on Twitter at Mallow News and at Mark of Caine 2. And if you enjoyed this episode, you'll find all the rest wherever you get your podcasts. The Mark of Caine is a Mallow News 2 Cubes production. See you next time.